Welcome back, true believers and all you merry Marvelites, to another very intriguing discussion video that we are going to dive into today for the channel, primarily relating to a topic which has already garnered a lot of controversy as is, but recently there is a lot of reason to be a bit skeptical and a little bit worried as to what could actually turn out to become the potential future for this property and the overall brand as a whole. And of course, with what I discuss the most on the channel, we're mainly talking about Marvel video games, and what other game could I currently be discussing than that of Marvel's Avengers. Oh boy, where do we start with this game? So if you've been keeping up with all the latest news recently for Marvel's Avengers, you would know that there is more reason to be worried and concerned for what the future of this game could possibly have in store than instead of being reassured and hyped to what the future could actually entail for this massive gaming property like Avengers, as fans should come to terms with. Of course, with the recent release of Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered on PlayStation 5 and Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales on both PS4 and PS5, as well as the more smaller budget title but still rather an entertaining product of Iron Man VR, all came out in 2020, were pretty darn good Marvel gaming properties as a whole, and sadly currently now, Marvel's Avengers is still seen as like the black sheep of the Marvel games family, developed by Crystal Dynamics, published by Square Enix, and of course produced by Marvel Games, with it being a big, massive live service gaming property that was said to include more content and characters for years to come, that will entrance and enthrall players to continuously play this game forever, pretty much. That's what the main vision of this game was. Now, who exactly made that vision come into fruition, meaning who actually wanted the game to be in that genre, I can guarantee you no fan wanted that, but it was either someone higher up at Crystal Dynamics or Square Enix that pretty much forced Marvel's Avengers to be put in that genre, because of that way, it would then make them the most money. But the reason why I'm discussing about this today is because the news relating to Marvel's Avengers is that there is no news. Zip. Zero, zilch, nada, nothing at all for this game. Already near the final end of January of 2021, there has been basically little to no updates as to what the core future of this game will entail. Now, sadly, of course, due to the passing of Chadwick Boseman, we were supposed to receive Black Panther possibly sometime back in 2020, but they didn't want to have that be in poor taste by releasing his character right after his passing. So, of course, that is understandable, and I respect them for doing so to hold it off for a later time. However, we were supposed to receive Kate Bishop back in October, as well as Hawkeye, both in the year of 2020, and now currently within 2021, we're still waiting for all other major characters within the Marvel Universe to be included within this massive Marvel property, like that of Black Panther, Spider-Man, Scarlet Witch, Doctor Strange, War Machine, She-Hulk, and so on. All the characters that are said to be included within this game have sadly already been fully leaked and data mined to basically be confirmed at this point that they are going to be included in the game. And even though we currently don't have an entire roadmap from the developers or publishers themselves as to what we as fans can expect to be included within the game, like that of replayable campaign missions, mega hives, raids, stuff like that, nothing has been disclosed to the general public as to when and what we can expect at these certain dates. And me, as a general consumer, is very worrying, especially if you're a massive fan like myself of the Marvel property as a whole, and specifically if you're also a gamer at heart. We want Marvel to succeed. We want Crystal Dynamics and Square Enix and these entire gaming properties to thrive in the best way possible because we love these characters. However, we don't want these poor business practices to get away scot-free, meaning in the way that how this game is structured as a live service microtransaction-filled product. And that immediately turns off any and all consumers that may have potentially bought your game. That's why single-player games are still massively thriving. If you have also been keeping up with the news, Steam ratings for Marvel's Avengers have been decreasing and plummeting non-stop ever since its main release. Even with the addition of Kate Bishop, a brand new character to be included within the game, didn't really receive a whole lot of massive general players to return back in the best way possible that Square and Crystal may have thought it would once they included her in the game. Now, will a character as big as Black Panther or Spider-Man bring people back? Absolutely. But will it save the game from the current deteriorating amount of players that are not actually incorporating time and money into the product? I don't think so. New content will do that. Communicating with the fans will definitely do that and increase your morale with the consumers and general player base. And being upfront as to what exactly your product is the best way that you can currently go about the situation that they have found themselves in. And why I'm bringing all this up is because I personally think this might have an impact on the current deal that Marvel Games and Square Enix set forth with each other all the way back in 2017. Like we know, Marvel Games and Square Enix are currently partnered in a multi-year, multi-game partnership with one another, and their first project starting off this partnership is in fact Marvel's Avengers. However, as we know, Marvel's Avengers did not break even with its developer costs, meaning that the amount of money that Square Enix, Crystal Dynamics, and Marvel Games put into marketing and developing the game has not made its profit back with the product that they shipped with Marvel's Avengers back in September of 2020, and the player base decreasing steadily ever since that launch has only worsened the situation as a whole. And since they are still trying to get their financial profit back for this game, has actually made them lose more money instead of actually gaining a bigger profit. And you would think that is the craziest thing that you would ever hear because of the property that they're dealing with. Avengers, Marvel, it should instantly make money. But again, it's because of the quality of the product not living up to the quality of the brand that people are playing and paying for in general. Spider-Man PS4, developed by Insomniac Games. Iron Man VR, developed by Camouflage. Miles Morales as well. All these games are core, central focused to the characters that we know and love. And the experience that the developers made around the characters did them justice. Does a live service looter shooter grinding for gear centric microtransaction filled experience scream Avengers to anyone? I don't think so. And the fact that they're continuously not being upfront with the scheduling and roadmap for what the future content is going to be has only made things 10 times worse. And for me, I do want them to succeed, but as a consumer, I'm still waiting for more content to be included within the game with the money that I paid, and still they are going to be including new heroes and regions for free, which is great, but us as general consumers are still waiting for the experience to be added with extra content that will incentivize us as players to keep coming back for more and more. And that is where I wanted to briefly highlight this one slight little snippet of a new article that was posted a few days ago by a games journalist named Paul Tassi from Forbes, basically highlighting something which I find very controversial and very odd from the developers themselves. So basically, he goes on to describe in this whole article what we're talking about right now, that the silence of Marvel's Avengers is very concerning and worrying for the future of the game. But out of everything that was discussed about previously in the last few days, it was actually stated that this past Friday, Crystal Dynamics had their usual stream where they play the game and interact with the chat. But they quickly acknowledged that they wouldn't have any news about the game to share, and it wasn't up to them specifically when they can share such news. I know my voice cracked, but that's because I am basically pretty darn irritated with what's going on here. So that either means that the developers of the game aren't in control into when and where they can actually share the news about their main massive product with a property as big and huge and loved as Avengers, meaning that the publishers or producers behind the game are the main ones to tell them, okay, now you can share the news about Spider-Man, okay, now you can share the news about Black Panther, Doctor Strange, so on, meaning that Square is obviously the big man in charge. However, that's biting them massively in the butt because of how many people are not playing this game and how they're losing money for the profit of the game that it could gain because of the lack of content that is not included within the product as a whole. And for me personally, it's just also in the way the game is structured, continuously fighting enemies through these really repetitive missions of just going into these laboratories or barren wastelands and just beating up enemies non-stop with little to no innovation in terms of how the combat is set up and the way that gear operates, and looting for gear is not really a fun system that you can put with an Avengers game. So again, it's all about the game serving the structure of the characters instead of just saying, wouldn't it be fun if we made Marvel's Destiny? No, because people are looking for something way different and much more entertaining. That's why the main subject at hand here is whether or not this could actually affect the future deal that is going on with Marvel and Square Enix in the future. Like we know already, it is leaked, not rumored, but actually leaked, that the next project that is happening, supposedly after Marvel's Avengers, developed by Square Enix and Eidos Montreal, is going to be a possibly open-world, free-roaming, explorable space traversal type of Guardians of the Galaxy game in a AAA format. Now, whether or not that game will be also live service is unknown at this point, but that is the next big property that Marvel Games is supposedly going to work on. However, considering how much of a massive hit Square and Marvel have received because of the poor reception that Marvel's Avengers has gained, we don't know if this could actually take away the amount of time that Crystal, Eidos, Nixie Software, Square Enix, and Marvel Games, all these developers could incorporate within Marvel's Avengers instead of saying, okay, Eidos, you can now move on from helping us out with Marvel's Avengers to now fully working on your next game. And again, since this is a massive financial hit for all these companies involved, we don't necessarily know what the future of this deal has in store. Now, they're already under a contract that it's going to be multi-year, multi-game partnership, but that was because they were expecting Marvel's Avengers to sell like hotcakes. Now, that's not the case at all. Now, it's actually lost them money, and the reviews for it have only gotten worse and worse ever since its release, especially since they're now not being as, advocating or discussive towards what the future of the content we can expect to be in the game, when and where they're actually going to incorporate it in the product as a whole. Especially since this game is live service. If this was just a normal single-player game, getting extra DLC chapters for the main campaign, that's fine, because it's a single-player game, you still have the full experience already set up with what released, and then there it is. But now, it's kind of in the same realm of Cyberpunk, where we're still waiting for all this content. At least they have a roadmap, but there's going to be including more and more content to make the game bigger and better, supposedly, but we don't know when and what that's going to entail, specifically how long people are actually going to keep waiting around until they do so. I just don't know if they can keep it up that much longer for the status of this game, and whether or not its decrease in quality and profit could potentially affect the future of the Square Enix-Marvel partnership. Now, don't get confused with this between Marvel and Insomniac, because that's mainly with Sony and PlayStation. Of course, now, Sony Interactive owns Insomniac Games. They're part of the PlayStation first-party worldwide studios lineup. We are obviously going to receive Marvel's Spider-Man 2 exclusively on PlayStation 5, either in 2022 or 2023, but for now, in the case of the Marvel Square Enix partnership, we don't necessarily know how that could fare in the future. And for me, as a consumer, I feel for the developers who obviously care about the property, but I'm not going to pretend like I'm in love with the game and I want the best for it, because they pretty much shot themselves in the foot the minute that they decided to make it a live service game. Still, I would like to see exactly where this game ends up by the end of 2021, whether or not they could pull off like a Battlefront 2 situation or like a No Man's Sky thing where the game did a complete 180. It totally included everything that fans want. It's a masterpiece of a live service game, and this is exactly what we've been waiting for. Or, again, like Anthem, it's just going to die out really, really fast like it already has with the player base and people not playing the game, and how that could fare for months on end with little to no communication between the developers, the publishers, and the producers, and the consumers at hand deciding with their wallets whether or not that they think that this game is worth their time and money. And clearly, with the massive increase of profit sales for a game like Marvel's Spider-Man, and the massive decline of player-based installments and financial revenue with a game like Marvel's Avengers, it's clear to see which one is thriving and which one is not. And hopefully, if this partnership is still intact by the time that Marvel's Avengers includes all its content, Square Enix takes that into consideration with what game they make next. And if that does turn out to be Guardians of the Galaxy, hopefully they make the best game possible with the restrictions that they see with Marvel's Avengers, and expand on that even further with a massive potential with a property like Guardians of the Galaxy. Still, we will see. I'm just hoping for the best, even though I'm not really having too much faith in what the game is right now, and it sucks to say that as a Marvel fan, but I do want the best for these games, and if that means that one has to, be a mess for the other ones to possibly thrive down the line, to get the message across that we're not looking for these types of games, we want something more quality and more passion-filled instead of something that's more microtransaction-filled and more business-oriented, then that will be for the best possible outcome for all parties involved. But with all that said, everyone, that's the video I have for you today. I want to really discuss this news in detail about the potential future of Marvel and Square Enix and where it could land in the next coming months by the end of 2021, and whether or not the partnership between the two companies will still be in full fruition or actually disband by the time the year is over. We will see, but it'll be very interesting to see what exactly happens by the end of this year. But with all that said, everyone, let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. Feel free to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you did enjoy. Do you want Marvel's Avengers to succeed, or do you want to not really do as well because you want more single-player action-adventure-oriented experiences like Iron Man VR and Spider-Man PS4, or just a different type of genre game instead of the live service model that Marvel's Avengers was? I would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you all so much for watching. Stay merry, Marvelites, and until next time, peace out.